Whoa. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hey, everyone. Hello. Please feel free to take a seat. We're about to get started. So, hello, welcome to our Faire office. Really excited Toronto Tech Week this week. So, welcome everyone. I'm Jeff. I'm one of the directors of engineering here at Faire to MC tonight. This is actually our newly renovated space. We just opened this yesterday. So, hope you're one of the first people to enjoy it. So, hope you like it. I want to start as well. These events don't just happen. It takes many weeks, lots of different teams, lots of hard work. So would love to give a huge thank you to everyone involved. Please, if you can show your appreciation. Yeah, let's hear from. Awesome. Okay, so we'll go on to the agenda here. So first up, we have our tech talk. We're going to be talking about transforming wholesale with AI. You'll hear from members of our engineering team today. We'll take a quick break. We'll set up the stage for next up will be our fireside chat with Juan and Marcelo, and then we'll wrap up with a happy hour. Some quick housekeeping. So please check in. A reminder to wear your name tags when you're visiting. If you're looking for washrooms, they're around the site, so you go around that way to find them. We offer office tours. So towards the end, speak with a Faire team member. They'll be wearing Faire t-shirts. They offer tours around the office. And then finally, check out the QR codes on the table to learn more about Faire. Okay, that's everything. Let's kick things off. Please welcome Annie to start a technical presentation. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Hey, folks. Happy Toronto Tech Week. I'm Annie, engineering manager responsible for the ads engineering team based out of Toronto. And I'm really thrilled here today to walk you through our tech talk. But first, I want to take a moment to introduce Faire and share a bit about what we do. So what exactly is Faire? Faire is a platform and marketplace that connects independent retailers with the brands they stock in their stores. So when you think of retailers, think gift shops, clothing boutiques, home decor stores, even restaurants. And for brands, imagine names like Momofuku for packaged goods, Quiche for self-care products, or Penguin Random House for books. Retailers can find all of them on Faire. We support hundreds of thousands of retailers across North America and Europe and connect them with brands from over 120 countries to help grow their businesses. Fun fact, right here in the GTA, we have over 5,000 retailers and 1,500 brands using Faire. That includes shops like Accent & Co., just down the street from us at the Well, and Greenhouse Juice, one of my favorite beverage makers, and also is helping us with refreshments today. And Faire was founded in 2017 by 4 former Square employees. One of them, our co-founder, Marcelo, is joining us for a fireside chat right after this talk. Since launching, we've raised over $1.5 billion in venture capital from leading firms like Sequoia, Y Combinator, Founders Fund, and others. Now a little bit about our engineering organization here at Faire. We are over 300 engineers strong, spanning product, infrastructure, data, and IT, with team members based out of Toronto, Kitchener-Waterloo, San Francisco, and working remotely or across North America. It's really exciting for me to be able to showcase some of our work today as a Toronto engineer, from Toronto engineers, as a lifelong Toronto engineer myself, to a Toronto audience. Also, a lot of our engineers are here today, so don't be shy. Say hi, ask questions, and get to know more about what it's like working at Faire and what we're building together. If you're also curious about the kinds of problems we're solving and how we think about engineering, check out our tech blog at craft.faire.com. And we're also hiring, so you'll find QR codes around the office that link directly to our careers page and the blog. If something catches your interest, we'd love to hear from you. And finally, our topic today is transforming wholesale with AI. At Faire, we sit at the intersection of a massive amount of retail and brand activity. Think hundreds of thousands of buyers and sellers transacting daily across categories, geographies, and verticals. So in today's talk, we'll walk you through how our engineering teams are applying AI to solve these customer problems and what we've learned along the way. Before we dive a bit deeper into the technology, I want to ground us in why we do what we do. Faire's mission is to empower our brands and retailers to strengthen the unique character of local communities. So everything we build, from our marketplace infrastructure to our AI-driven features, is in service of this mission. Whether it's the local shop on Main Street or the passionate makers behind niche, high-quality brands, we aim to make it easier for them all to thrive. That purpose shapes every technical decision we make. Because when these businesses succeed, our local neighborhoods become more charming and diverse, and in turn, more livable as well. And as an urbanist, it's like really important for me that like our neighborhoods are also super diverse. So it really speaks to me personally. So today, our agenda is framed around three core customer problems, and we'll walk you through how we're solving each of them with engineering and AI. The first problem we're tackling today is a big one. Wholesale is still massively underserved by technology. While consumer-facing e-commerce has evolved rapidly over the past decade with seamless discovery, checkouts, recommendations, and more, the wholesale world has largely been left behind. Many retailers and brands still rely on manual processes, outdated tools, and fragmented systems to run their businesses. That's a pretty huge gap, and it's also a huge opportunity. At Faire, we believe that wholesale deserves the same level of innovation and polish that consumers enjoy. And to do that, we've made it a priority to equip our engineering teams to deliver value faster and more efficiently so we can close this technology gap and give our customers the tools they need to succeed. The second major challenge we're solving is around product discovery. For independent retailers, finding unique products and brands that align with their vision and vibe of their stores is probably the biggest, differentiator they have against their competition. But with hundreds of thousands of brands and millions of products on Faire, the sheer scale of choice can become really, really overwhelming. We'll talk about how we are leveraging AI to help retailers and find unique products from these unique brands easier than ever before. And then the final challenge we'll highlight today is one that becomes increasingly important as Faire scales, which is serving our upmarket enterprise retailers. These are retailers with multiple locations, with revenues in the tens of millions of dollars and more, and they come to Faire with a very different set of expectations. For them, building a product assortment isn't just about discovery, it's about strategic planning, operational efficiency, and a highly personalized experience. Meeting these expectations at scale means building tools and systems that are both powerful and flexible, blending kind of a human touch with machine intelligence to deliver tailored recommendations, onboarding support, and merchandising guidance. Today, we'll talk a little bit about how we're leveraging AI to enable these personalized recommendations for our retailers as well. So this is our agenda for today. We'll show you how we're enabling engineers to deliver more value, helping retailers find unique products, and building personalized recommendations with the help of AI. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Benoit to kick us off with the first topic.
Thank you, Annie. Awesome. Hello, I am Benoit. I'm a staff engineer here on the mobile platform team. And I'm going to be going through kind of how we've been using AI to speed ourselves up. So this is really surprising to me for an industry that has so much data as wholesale that they don't use these tools as much. So there's an incredibly a lot for us to build for our retailers and brands. And so this is how we kind of use AI to try and accelerate developer velocity. So I'm sure everyone here has likely seen all the crazy headlines. 2025 is the year of the agent and developers are done and all these things are going to be solved. And it's just a matter of 6 months, even though we're 2 years into the 6 months. But if you actually try to do all of these things that everyone's talking about in an enterprise code base, you start to run into a few issues. So for example, enterprise often have ginormous mono repos. These are too large to fit in the context models. You can't just ship your whole code base with every prompt. There's even within the actual repos, there can be a lot of different patterns. There could be kind of the legacy things that you don't want to follow. There could be multiple different architectures. It's going to potentially confuse the AIs. Beyond that, we also don't always have great sources of truth for documentation. So even if you wanted to give it the context that it needs for whatever architecture you're using, you could have Google Docs, you could have Notion pages, you could have Slack threads from like 6 months ago that you bookmark that you keep going back to because no one actually documented the thing. And then also in large enterprise, you have a lot of custom integrations and you have a lot of homegrown systems of, this is how we do our eventing data and here's how we do these other things. And it kind of looks like some of the open source things that exist out there that would be in the training data, but it's not in the training data. So sometimes the models get misled and they get lost. So then what can AI actually do today? So thinking back to first principles, it can read stuff, it can give you output, it can write stuff, it can reason about it. And that's kind of the building blocks that we start with. So how can we take these kind of first principles building blocks and build them into something bigger. So the first thing you can do is you can combine those things. And so you can do things like research, where it reads a whole bunch and it reasons a whole bunch and then it writes some. So it's kind of using all the different pieces. There's kind of documentation, tests, and boilerplate. And it's mostly writing. You don't really have to think much. You don't even really have to read too much. You could do kind of proof of concept validations where you're going to write maybe a whole bunch of different ways to do something and reason about it. And then you can also have automated workflows where you're reading instructions and writing outputs. So you can kind of combine all of these different first principle things into something a little bit larger, higher level. Okay, so then what do you do with that? So this is a case study of something we've done here at Faire, where we had a whole bunch of custom extensions on how we do our event stream processing on the iOS app. The technical details aren't super interesting, but we have an old legacy way that we want to move away from. We want to move towards something a little more industry standard. So how can we combine all these previous first principle things into something bigger? Well, we can do a deep research, kind of get what the current best practices are. Here's how the model, here's how the actual architecture should look like. Here's the things to think about. And then using that deep research, feed it into the next thing and say, okay, now that we want to end up here, take a look at the code base, take a look at where we want to end up. Give me multiple approaches. How could we try to get it into the right way? And then now you can use the engineer, the experience that you have and guide, okay, these are the values we have as an engineering org. We want to pick this approach. So now that we have that, we can use the AI to also read and write and reason about how to create all the different smaller pieces that we could actually run through the AI. And so what was the outcome of putting all these pieces together? So for us, we were able to kind of end up with autonomous agents that were guided into the biggest code areas that we needed to deal with, the places where we know new features are going in soon. And we were able to migrate all the call sites that we needed to. That's about 200 call sites. A little bit of back of the envelope math kind of gives you probably on the order of 100 hours that we save by running some of these things. And so this is the kind of thing that you can do when you build up all those different kind of building blocks. And then to kind of tell you how we ended up surfing the wave of this AI stuff and evolving our systems over time, Jordan.
Thanks, Benoit. Hey, everyone. My name is Jordan. I'm a senior front-end engineer on the web platform team here at Faire, and I'm going to be talking to you about one of our internal tools, Agent Fairy, and how it is surfing the waves of AI tooling. So I know we've shown you some of Faire's customers' problems, but as an engineer on the platform team, my customer is my fellow engineer. One of our main engineering problems is that we have too many tools and not enough flow between them. At Faire, engineers rely on a plethora of tools every day: GitHub, Slack, Notion, custom workflows, and more. But sometimes our integration needs go beyond what tooling can natively support. So I'm going to take you back to 2022, before the surf and the introduction of mainstream AI tooling. We had this service called PRBot. It's a simple Node.js service that we host internally to connect a handful of our internal tools. It would connect services like GitHub to Slack, to Notion, to Jira. It's the central orchestrator of a wide variety of integrations. The name comes from its initial responsibility, very simply connecting GitHub PR events to other tools. An example I'll refer back to throughout this presentation would be receiving a webhook from GitHub that a PR has finished its checks, fetching the various CI runs from BuildKite that had failed, and then sending a Slack notification to the PR author that the CI on their PR had failed. Then came along widespread introduction of the first mainstream LLMs, obviously starting with ChatGPT, then other companies following suit with Llama from Meta, Gemini from Google, et cetera, et cetera. Our first thought was, how do we take this service that has access to all of this internal information and integrate it with LLMs? So we added OpenAI as an extra integration into our PRBot service. We realized at this point that PRBot service was doing a lot more than simply dealing with PR, so we simply renamed it. We do love puns here, so moving forward, we would now refer to this service as Fairy, your personal Faire assistant. Our first simple use case would be exposing ChatGPT to our employees through Slack. This would allow ChatGPT to flow seamlessly into our existing workflows. We'd receive an incoming Slack message to our service via a Slack bot. We'd then forward that message to GPT, adding any additional context needed, and then we'd simply return the ChatGPT response back to the user. We could have talked directly from Fairy to OpenAI, but in order to ensure our integration with OpenAI could expand to more than just Fairy, we created a service called AI Bridge. It is responsible for a few key things: session management to tie into existing authorization workflow, tracking token usage by application and user, and interoperability. So it would allow us to easily change OpenAI integration with Gemini, Claude, etc., without having to update all of the consumers. The overall picture of our Fairy service looks something like this. You can ask it a prompt in Slack by pinging Fairy. In this example, we asked, why did PR123 fail? Fairy determines which prompt factories to use based on the message. In this case, it selects the GitHub prompt factory since we asked it about a PR. And then each prompt factory contains a set of function calls the LLM can use. In this case, the GitHub prompt factory provides a function call to fetch the GitHub diff, to fetch the GitHub PR info, and to fetch our build kite logs. Here are a couple examples of me chatting with Fairy in Slack. This first example, our team got pinged about a Jira ticket that we were responsible for. I simply asked Fairy to outline the problem in the ticket to give me a better understanding. The second example uses the workflow I outlined in the previous slide. I got a notification that CI had failed on my PR. I simply asked Fairy, why did my PR fail? It fetched the failure logs and gave me a quick summary. This brings us to the second wave of AI tooling, which came in the form of assistants. Our one Fairy chat assistant did a little bit of everything, but it sometimes pulled in too many prompts and the context windows of each chat got very bloated. Assistants gave us the ability to split Fairy up into dozens of more tailored fairies. These would have clear boundaries about what they were responsible for, which provided an improved experience. They could easily utilize function calls that already existed, and we could utilize threads for persistent conversation. Each assistant is easily customizable by providing a set of instructions, the function calls that it has available to it, and any additional file context that it might need to perform its duties. Here we have a customized GitHub reviewer assistant that will review your PR as an expert programmer. It'll reference our style guide and pull request template. It can even fetch code coverage for your PR to tell you that you're missing coverage on key test cases. Another use case that naturally arose from other parts of our org is our CX team had configured their own CX assistant. The CX assistant would help triage and summarize support cases. It could fetch Zendesk tickets, search our help center, transcribe calls, and would always ensure to cite its sources. Here, you'll see a few examples of many different assistants that have been created at Faire. The first example was created by our brand integrations team completely organically. They created an assistant to help folks answer questions they might have about how our brand integrations work. They created a basic assistant, gave it some instructions, handed it a handful of files to use as source material like FAQs, our brand integration guides, etc. And then here you can see me asking it a question as to what might be causing our products to not sync over from Shopify. The assistant went through all of our documentation and gave me a list of various different reasons why it might have happened. Another assistant that we created was to help alleviate the burden on our on-call engineers. We found that folks were often coming to our help channels for issues that were already being discussed or that had well-known solutions. The assistant was instructed to find any relevant conversations in the channel and respond to the user with links to these existing conversations, and it can also respond with solutions to known problems. Here I'm asking it why my test was terminated due to an infrastructure issue. The assistant recognized a similar thread in the channel and linked me to an ongoing incident affecting our test infrastructure. That brings us to the third wave, agentic programming and the rise of agents. New agents started popping up. Cursor, Claude, custom GPTs are the three that I've chosen to display here, as these are the primary ones that we have integrated with, but there are many more. These agents brought three key attributes: autonomy, as they could choose the tools on their own; composability, to allow us to break functionality into building blocks; and ecosystem integration via MCP servers to allow these external agents to plug into our existing infrastructure. In Wave 2, we built smart assistants with scope capabilities and persistence. But in Wave 3, we stopped focusing on building the agent and instead focused on exposing these capabilities to all of the new external agents that were popping up. We updated Fairy to expose individual MCP servers for the various different functions that it can perform. MCP is a protocol for exposing groups of function calls as a standalone callable service. Each MCP server would define its set of capabilities that agents can then discover and invoke. And these are just a few of the MCP servers that we exposed in Fairy: one for build kite capabilities, one for Jira, one for GitHub. MCP servers allowed our existing infrastructure to quickly be updated to work with these new agents. We could expose custom MCP servers to these agents by simply wrapping a collection of function calls and exposing them as an endpoint. I have an asterisk beside custom GPTs because they don't currently support MCP, but they do have a concept of actions which are very similar, and we were able to generate these actions alongside our MCP endpoints, and I'll tell you later where you can read more about that. To show you some examples of how powerful this integration is, here I am following a similar workflow that I did previously with Faire and Slack, only I'm using the cursor chat window with more powerful capabilities. I have our build kite and GitHub MCP servers running, and I asked Cursor why my PR failed. It was able to find the 2 failures in my PR. I then asked Cursor to fix and commit my issues. It located the file with my failures, suggested the correct fixes, and after I confirmed it, it committed these changes to my PR. Another example of utilizing agents is using a custom GPT directly in the ChatGPT app. We have a CX Insights custom GPT that will utilize a Zendesk action. Here, I asked ChatGPT to summarize the Zendesk tickets for the shipping pod in the previous week. It is able to fetch the tickets specific to this pod, summarize the top issues that we saw in the last week, give me some emerging trends, and we always make sure to include receipts. So it even posts some sample tickets for me to look at. This wave of agentic programming has allowed our team to focus on building out Faire-specific capabilities rather than building the agents themselves. Our infrastructure is starting to become a part of the global agentic ecosystem. To give you some numbers on how all of this tooling has been used, in the past month, we've had over 6,000 chat messages with Faire, 5,700 chat messages with Faire assistants, 650 MCP tool calls, and over 70 custom assistants have been created by various employees, and over 50 functions have been built and exposed to agents. Lastly, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our blog called The Craft. My colleague Luke just released an article where he goes into a lot more detail of how we powered agentic development with custom MCP servers. If you'd like to learn more about it, head on over to craft.faire.com. And now I'm going to hand it off to Tom to chat with you about natural language and image search.
Hey, thank you, Jordan. Hello, everyone. My name is Tom. I'm an engineer on the Discovery AI team. Today, I'm excited to walk you through how we're using AI to transform discovery experience for our retailers. As mentioned, one of the customer problems is finding unique products and brands that aligns with the retailer's vision. It's frustrating and slow. This frustrating discovery experience keeps the retailer from the products they love. So most of our retailers actually kick off their product hunt right in their web browser. So they type in keywords in the search bar, scroll through the products, and only rarely they apply filters, less than 10% of the time. Instead of applying filters, most retailers keep on tweaking their search terms and guessing their way to the right product result. Filters could make this faster and more precise, but today they're clunky and hidden. Let's see what our retailer says. Here are some straight from the retailer's feedback. I wish I could search the way I speak to my sales rep. Show me something like this, but more in blue and at a lower price point, rather than trying to break it down into separate searches and filters. This is exactly the experience we want to bring to Faire, where AI-driven natural language search. All right, let's see it live. Here, the retailer is typing in, find me dresses made in Paris, under 100 USD, and now sold on Amazon. And just like that, our system understands users' intent and apply multiple filters, location, price, and brand value, all from a single natural language query while keeping dresses as the primary search result. No hunting through menus or toggling checkboxes. That's the power of AI. Next, I'll walk you through how we built this under the hood. So natural language search used to be a tricky engineering problem. Free-form text is messy, and translating the intent into something our search engine understands isn't easy. But thanks to AI, I was able to create a working prototype in just 2 days. Here's the flow when retailer types a natural language phrase in our search bar. So client would send a search request that contains the natural language query to a search service. In this case, find me dresses made in Paris, under $100, that's now sold on Amazon. Then we'll send the raw text to AI to analyze the natural language query and return us a search result that our search engine would actually know. So in this case, AI would return query equals dress, and the filters are made in Paris, under 100 USD, and now sold on Amazon. Later on, we then pass the AI processed search requests to the search funnel. That way, we can do a text plus filter search where our existing search engine already knows how to best handle it. So with AI, we essentially turn natural language search into two-step flow, where natural language to search request is processed through AI, and then we use the process text plus filter search where our existing search pipeline. This is just a smart way to leverage AI to build something fast and useful for our retailers. Now let's take a look at the mobile search experience. Phones has been a game changer for most retailers. They're browsing Instagram, Pinterest, or snapping pictures at the trade show to find inspiration. But when they spot a look they love, finding similar products based on that inspiration is total shock in the dark. Let's see what the retailers say. Here are some straight from retailers' feedback. When I see a product in person or online, I want to find something similar to, but I have no way to use that image to search on Faire. That code nails the problem. Retailers cannot turn visual inspiration into actionable searches today. And let's see how our AI-driven image search will help with that. Okay, now we can see it live. So on my phone, I basically can tap onto the camera icon, pick one of the Pokemon photos that I found on my Instagram feed. I think it's called Snorlax. And just like that, our image search returns Faire products that are either matching or inspired by this Pokemon, all in one tab. There's no typing, no guessing keywords. This is pretty cool, right? Next, I'll walk you through how we build it with AI. So image search used to mean building expensive computer vision pipelines. When clients sends the image to search, behind the scene, we basically hit AI, and with some prompt engineering, AI would be able to turn that image into a query. In this case, we send the image to AI, AI would return the search query Snorlax. Then we take the AI-generated text and call our standard search service, just like any other standard query search, which our search funnel already know how to handle it the best. So AI-driven image search is essentially just a two-step flow. We use AI to turn image into text, and then we use text to turn to a list of products using our existing search pipeline. As simple as that, we have image search at Faire without building the expensive computer vision flow. As you can see, AI makes a lot of these used to be complex technical problems now easy to solve. Here are some customer outcomes. So we basically turned our prototype into real discovery features. We launched image search on mobile just weeks ago. It's already powering 1% of all mobile searches, a huge signal that retailers love tapping on a photo rather than typing in their phone. And on natural language search side, we opened our beta to customers who are now testing freeform queries in production as we speak. Next, I'll share a few more prototypes we're exploring with AI. So what you've seen so far is just the beginning of our vision to reinvent the discovery future at Faire. We're reimagining discovery from the ground up, letting retailers explore by web, refine with simple feedback, and instantly surface the perfect product for their shop. AI is an important foundation that unlocks powerful new capabilities to serve our customers and help them curate truly one-of-a-kind shop. All right, I'll hand it over to Luan to dive into our next topic.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Luan. I'm an engineer at Faire as well, also in the Discovery AI pod. And I'll be here to talk about our agentic buying tool. So far we've seen using AI for a couple different things. As Jordan showed, we use it extensively internally to connect our internal tools and help with our own development. And as Tom showed, we started to use it for user-facing applications as well, but in a very specific, like we call the AI and we give it a specific task kind of manner. So what if we want to actually use AI to call our Faire APIs and decide to use agents and tools to decide what to do on behalf of the retailer? So that's what we're going to see. So as Annie said, we have our third user problem here, or customer problem that we want to solve for. And in this case, we have higher level upmarket enterprise type retailers, and they not only want to use search to find specific products, but they want a curated experience. They want someone to build an assortment of products that they can fill their shops with based on their existing catalog that they sell, their desired style and aesthetics that they have for that shop, their price point. So they really want some personalized touch, let's say, to when choosing like a set of products to buy. So right now, today, we have a role for that. We have Faire account managers, and they directly talk to these clients in order to assist them on figure out how Faire can best help their business in a more strategic manner. So, for example, we have this character here, Mary. She's an account manager, and she's going to be helping Joe, our fictitious retailer, with their shop. So the jobs that Mary has to do today is basically identify and understand Joe's shop and what kind of things they sell, what kind of things they like, and map that to Faire brands. Make sure to filter out things that they already know, that they have already ordered. So she has, fresh, new ideas for Joe, and then basically build based on that a full set of recommendations for Joe. So if you think about this, is a very abstract and not well-defined process that Mary is doing here. That maybe if we try to specifically define, we could build like a specific API to do like a step-by-step thing, but it wouldn't be very flexible, right? So this kind of feels like the perfect job for something that we've been hearing a lot about, which is this agentic AI, right? Which is this AI that is capable of calling tools or calling specific functions to do things. So we've seen a little bit of that internally that we use. For example, the AI can call to GitHub or can call to Jira to fetch information. But what if the AI could call our own Faire APIs, right? So that's what we're trying to get at. But the more that we started to explore this space of agentic AI, the more that we realized that under the hood, it was all just a bunch of Python APIs. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it in other ways. Like, surely you could rewrite a lot of stuff, and you could eventually have, build this in any language. You're just calling APIs at the end of the day, right? But there's so much already developed and freely available to use, built on Python, that it just kind of seemed like the best fit. However, that leaves us in this problem space right now where we have these three kind of competing things. We have our Fairy agent that was building Node.js. That's like this internal thing. We have our existing Faire infrastructure in backend, which is entirely built in Kotlin, which has a lot of existing tooling and things that helps us build that we're already familiar with and comfortable with. And then we have this whole new agentic libraries and things that seem to be mostly built in Python. So we kind of have this dichotomy here. If we break that down into maybe three requirements, let's say, that we want for this new hypothetical agentic buying tool, the first thing is we have these different platforms. And again, surely we could rewrite everything, right? We could write everything in Kotlin. That's what we like. That's what we're familiar with. But Kotlin isn't the best solution for every single problem, obviously. There are certainly things that would be better done in different languages, in different frameworks, in different ways. So maybe we want a way that we could explore that. Problem number two is, while we're currently building a tool for Mary, which is also an internal user, so we don't necessarily need to have such higher standards for things like scalability, observability, resilience, etc. We actually, if these recommendations are good, we actually want to also expose the same tool for the actual retailer. Maybe it's not an upmarket retailer that has access to Mary to help, but a smaller retailer could also use the same tool, right? If it works well. And the third kind of requirement is that we want to explore these custom Faire agents. So basically, we're building tooling that the AI can call. So instead of us calling an AI of a specific task, the AI is kind of deciding what to do based on a set of tools that it has access to. And we want to build these tools that are basically accessing the Faire APIs. So for example, it's able to call our search API as if it was a retailer and get the results. And based on those results, take further decisions and until it gets to the final result that is showing the user. So if all these three kind of requirements and use cases that we have in mind, we kind of started to think about solutions for this. And we kind of honed into a specific one, which we called Project Burrito. So Project Burrito is the way we decided to solve this problem. But in order to explain it, I'll take a quick step back and let me quickly explain how our backend infrastructure currently works. So as I said, we have Kotlin servers, and we don't have what is known as the microservice infrastructure, which is where you might have, dozens, hundreds of tiny little services. Each one's a little thing, and that can lead to some, well-known problems of you can't do anything because you need to call 50 different services. But we also didn't want to stay with the monolith that we started forever because it was getting so big and unwieldy to work with. So we opted for a middle ground approach where we started to extract some services that are big and have a common use case and that makes sense. But it's not like hundreds of little services. However, all these services that we have follow the same infrastructure and are all Kotlin services. They all have their own database, and they all communicate with each other synchronously by API calls or RPC calls. And we also have an event bus where they can communicate kind of asynchronous. So this is our current infrastructure, a very simplified overview. And as you can see, we have all these Kotlin servers. So what is Burrito? Basically, the idea of Burrito is we're going to add a new service to the pool there. But this service, to the outside, it's going to look like just another Kotlin service. So we're going to have a Kotlin layer that uses all of our existing infrastructure and tooling, exposes standard APIs the way that all the other services do, and has access to all our internal helpers and all the libraries that we use. But on the same Kubernetes node, we run another server, which is in a different language. So, and this other server is internal. So it only communicates within its own pod, so via localhost, to the Kotlin wrapper. And as you can see, things like, for example, the storage or the database, they can be accessed directly by the Kotlin layer, the same way that is done by any other service. But anything that we want to kind of delegate to this dedicated, well, you can already guess it's going to be a Python server, right, in our case. So anything you want to delegate to this Python server can be done internally. And then as we expose this to the other services and to the front end, it looks the same. It looks as any of the other services. So how do we break down the responsibilities? Very simple. On the Kotlin side, we basically keep everything that we already have. So DB access, caching, settings, access control, proto buffs, which we use for API communication. Anything they already have that's easier done in Kotlin, we keep in the Kotlin side. But any language-specific thing that we want to have, so for example, you're already guessing, right? We're going to use this for Python to have these agents. So all the AI agents part, we can delegate to what we call the sidecar, or would be like the burrito filling. If you didn't get the metaphor, like the Kotlin is the tortilla. Also, we use this sidecar metaphor, which is a different metaphor. That's nothing to do with the burrito, but anyway, hopefully that makes sense. And these two can communicate using auto-generated protobuf definitions. So, as I said, this is a great new idea, this burrito structure. And yes, we built it. We use it. Then we created the first burrito. And the first burrito is used to power our agentic buying tool. So what is this agentic buying tool and how does it work? Well, this is a very simplified diagram of how it works. But basically, again, we have this Kotlin layer and we have this Python layer. And the request gets from the outside, say from the front end, into our Kotlin layer as usual. And then the Kotlin layer is able to access and do all the normal things that our servers already are designed and good at doing. So it can call, for example, the session service to get a user session on behalf of the retailer. It can create a conversation, which is just one thing we store in the database to represent that set of user request and response. And again, all that using existing technology. But then when it comes time to do the AI agentic thing, it basically sends an internal request to the AI tool sidecar, the Python server. And then the Python server receives the session delegated session token and is able to, one, call AI Bridge to communicate with OpenAI or other LLM providers to plan and map out what it wants to do, but then is also able to use its tools, its AI agents, to do specific things as it's thinking and processing. So it's able, for example, to access any of our services or even the monolith, so any of our existing APIs. So for example, you can call search on behalf of the retailer. It can call the retailer profile API to get details about the retailer. It can also call like external web. So if it wants to do like a Google search about the retailer to get more information, or if it wants to contact Snowflake or data warehouse, this is all powered by predetermined and type safe AI tools. So it's not like, for example, generating SQL and doing some crazy things. Like the things it can do are predefined, but which ones it wants to use is decided by the AI, right? And then finally, consolidates all that into a single, unified, simple response to the original query, and returns that to the Kotlin side. That then returns that to the saves that to database, returns to the original request. So that's a very basic overview, but it's been quite abstract so far. I've been talking about the code and how it works. So let me actually show you what it looks like. The interface is actually deceptively simple because it's just question and answer, right? So it's just a text where you can have a native language query asking for this AI to not only to find one product, but again, to build that assortment of products that are tailored to the needs of the retailer based on specific desires, all that we talked before. And then it will show you basically, you can even ask several groups. So if you want to group different products together by different criteria, and it will show you a list of groups which we call assortments, which is just the product types. So it's basically a much more advanced version of search, but built with all these new AI technologies. And if we go back to what is the outcome of this, so we actually launched this recently. Again, we launched this internally to be used by our account managers. So remember, Mary is Mary is a fictitious character, but we have real account managers that have used this in a pilot program, and we have acquired really good results. So about 75% of the pilot group got an increase in GMV by using the tool. And we got a total across the board of more than 2 times more orders using this tool. And this is just the beginning, because there's so much to do next, both on the burrito front, because we want to improve our tooling and expand this to potentially other services. Now we're not, ditching Kotlin. That's still going to be our main language. But whenever we find a problem in the future that is better suited to a specific language than Kotlin, we can leverage burrito as we improve it to build more and specific servers in the same way. But there is so much to improve, as you can see there on the burrito side. And at the same time, on the actual agentic buying tool, there's also a lot of things we want to improve. So as I said, we now want to expose this to actual retailers, as we've proven with the account managers that they're actually giving good suggestions and they're very useful. And we want to do that. We want to integrate that into existing flows into the Faire website so that any user can just use the tools themselves, not only the ones that have account managers. And that's all I have. So I'll pass it back to Annie for a recap.
Thanks, Luan. All right. So what did we learn today? So we explored how AI is driving productivity across our engineering organization, enabling us to deliver more value to our customers while saving hundreds of engineering hours. We introduced Faire, one of our internal AI tools that's already making our engineering workflows easier behind the scenes. And we walked through how search is also evolving to become more intelligent, helping retailers cut through the noise and discover products that truly match their store's aesthetics. And finally, we showcased our agentic buying tool, designed to offer personalized high-touch recommendations for our enterprise retailers, as well as my favorite project, Burrito, and how we have taken AI agents to production using that. But in truth, we've only really scratched the surface of the things that we can build. Some of the things that Tom showed you is coming up, but the potential to transform wholesale is immense, and for both retailers and brands. And we're just getting started. I want to take a small moment to thank everyone who showed up here in this heat wave. that's going on right now. And thank you to Toronto Tech Week for also helping us organize this event. And we're really glad to see you all here. I also want to give a big heartfelt thanks to everyone who helped make this Tech Talk possible. Our speakers for sharing their insights, their work, and shaping a fantastic agenda for today. The Workplace team for organizing and creating such a great space. It's really nice to see the all hands space also come together. And finally, the creative team for taking our slides to the next level, and the entire Toronto Tech event planning crew for pulling this event together. It really takes a village to make something like this happen. So now we'll take a short break, but so feel free to grab some refreshments and food. We've got greenhouse, like I talked about, and yeah, enjoy.